We as a whole realize that the specific recipe to make Coca-Cola is stayed quiet about. It will most likely remain that route for quite a while, if not until the end of time. While we don't know all that is placed into Coca-Cola, we do realize that they undoubtedly use water. You can't make most beverages without water. So it's not amazing that the sweet beverage has a ton of water in it. This, nonetheless, turns into an issue in nations that have issues getting perfect water on a consistent basis. It takes a great deal of water to make only one container of Coca-Cola. And this has brought about more unfortunate nations not having any entrance to water because of Coca-Cola production lines spending the entirety of the fluid. Not exclusively individuals not have enough water to drink, however they need more water for their harvests, which means they additionally pass up watering, expending, and making the nourishment they have to endure. You wouldn't believe that working at a Coca-Cola processing plant could bring about anybody kicking the bucket, yet that is actually what befallen a few Coca-Cola assembly line laborers in Colombia. It was in 1986, and the day began generally typical when the processing plant was out of nowhere trapped by a lot of wild peer-toward individuals from a close-by paramilitary gathering. A Colombian Coca-Cola official attempted to get the men to leave, yet the men can't and they wound up murdering the official. This brought about the paramilitary gathering giving Coca-Cola a final proposal: be calm and leave, or kick the bucket. Obviously, the representatives left the industrial facility as fast as could be expected under the circumstances where the gathering assumed control over the plant and made it theirs. Coca-Cola, despite everything, gets analysis for this, as they did almost know to discover why this homicide went down in any case. Also, when the plant in the end opened up once more, the majority of the first laborers were just terminated. Coca-Cola clearly needs to be the greatest drink organization on the planet. Now, it's sheltered to state that they most likely are, despite the fact that their size hasn't prevented them from purchasing out organizations so as to get however much cash flow as could be expected. This is the thing that occurred in India in 1977. Coca-Cola had started their development to India selling their items at nearby shops. Tragically, they didn't work out quite as well as they arranged. Scarcely any individuals purchased their item and Coca-Cola lost a ton of cash, so they left before they could lose any more cash. Then in 1977, an Indian organization called Thumbs Up showed up, and they sold their own bubbly beverage. Coca-Cola had just left, leaving the open door for another organization to have its spot. Coca-Cola wound up purchasing the Thumbs Up organization and rebranding it. This made individuals believe they're giving their cash to Thumbs Up, however it truly winds up in the pockets of Coca-Cola. This implies Coca-Cola is selling Coca-Cola without individuals in any event acknowledging it. We all know how healthy water it is. We also know that we need to drink a decent amount every single day, but there was a time where Coca-Cola was completely discouraging against that. All Coca-Cola wanted to do was make as much money as possible by encouraging people to drink Coke over water. To do this, they launched a campaign that went by the name H2No. This campaign was supposed to get waiters and waitresses to push Coca-Cola on customers instead of boring, old water. Coca-Cola was trying to get restaurants on their side by saying water would simply bore the customers, and that Coca-Cola would instead make them feel buzzed. Maybe they assumed customers would spend more money on food, which would benefit both Coca-Cola and the restaurants in the long run. This was basically a way for Coca-Cola to take down their competition, water. Plus, they got some extra cash in the process. Can Coca-Cola kill you? If you drink enough of it, it apparently can. Coca-Cola faced criticism when a woman from New Zealand apparently drunk herself to death by drinking too much of the soda. She was only 30, and she spent most of her days gulping down bottle after bottle of Coca-Cola. The coroner who observed the woman's body said that many of her medical conditions could be linked back to her Coca-Cola addiction. Which raises the question, just how addictive is Coca-Cola? There's no doubt that many people drink Coca-Cola several times a day. But what's never acknowledged by the company is what makes their particular ingredients so addictive that it has the ability to lead to an adult's death. The coroner did say that if she hadn't been drinking so much Coca-Cola, then she still would have been alive, something Coke never really faced up to. In the 1990s, Coca-Cola was trying to tackle the idea of getting the younger generations to consume their products. The 90s were a time where things were slowly changing in regards to what we ate and drank. But Coca-Cola was quick to jump and make certain that kids would drink their products and their products only while at school. The company would hand over money to schools, which would result in Coca-Cola getting the rights to sell their drinks in said schools. This resulted in one New York school getting a stadium with a giant Coca-Cola sign, which meant kids were being advertised to even when at school. Schools were then urged to sell the products to the kids despite how unhealthy too much of the product can be. Schools were even threatened with making less money if they sold drinks like milk and fruit juices. Coca-Cola clearly has no issues trying to beat out their competition and make as much money as possible. This can be seen with how they source their ingredients. The company used to get their coca leaves from local farmers in Peru, and some say that some of the US factories are still doing this. The issue with that is that coca leaves are almost entirely illegal around the globe. They are commonly used to make cocaine, and this, of course, is an illegal drug. The real problem is that coca leaves can technically be used for other things as well. Legal things, like candy, if they're made correctly. Of course, because of the drug laws that have been implemented, these farmers in Peru can only sell their products to Coca-Cola. They're the only company in the US that's allowed to have access to the leaves. This means Coca-Cola can ask for the leaves for pretty much any price they want, which leaves a lot of the farmers poor and struggling, something Coca-Cola doesn't really address despite how much money the company makes. The Coca-Cola Company was under fire a few years ago due to their research department employees speaking out about misconduct. Coca-Cola has always been branded as a company that promotes unhealthy, sugary drinks. It is a fact that Coca-Cola's drinks contain quite a bit of sugar, and we all know that sugar can lead to obesity. Coca-Cola, however, was funding scientists who would instead place the blame on people simply not exercising. Coca-Cola wanted the world to know that obesity had nothing to do with what a person consumed, and everything to do with their lack of movement and exercise. A lot of people claimed Coca-Cola was being extremely irresponsible with the data they were sharing, as it did not take into consideration just how damaging sugary drinks can be. The company said that obesity couldn't be dealt with by cutting down calories, something that a lot of nutritionists disagree with. Coca-Cola used to contain traces of cocaine in their drinks. It might sound like some silly urban legend you heard at school, but it is true that the fizzy drink used to contain the drug. There have been countless disagreements on how much was featured in the drink, but the fact is that Coca-Cola used to use coca leaves in their products, and some say that they still do. In those leaves, you'll find cocaine alkaloid, which of course can be used to create cocaine. In 1903, the company began to slowly but surely remove cocaine from the drinks, mainly because a lot of white Americans became worried about the overwhelming amount of African Americans who were buying Coca-Cola. Many weren't allowed to use fountains, so they ended up just buying their own drinks instead. White Americans were fearful that this would result in them being attacked by people consuming the drug-filled liquid, so Coca-Cola moved on from the leaves. At this point we all know that Coca-Cola had traces of cocaine in their drinks, but did you know that Coca-Cola was originally meant to be a straight-up alcoholic drink? Coca-Cola was supposed to be simple but sweet-tasting wine, but Prohibition came around, making the overall drink illegal. That was when the creator of Coca-Cola decided to include cocaine into the drinks instead. They then rebranded the drink as a headache cure, with the medicinal power coming from the cocaine. This was, of course, a time before people really knew what kind of damage cocaine could actually do, while Coca-Cola never seems to really acknowledge the odd things in their drinks. They were criticized recently because of reports that were released. The report stated that Coca-Cola did indeed contain traces of alcohol, which doesn't appear to be written anywhere on the bottle. This caused an uproar, especially in countries that have a strict anti-alcohol culture.